Hello, everybody. We are back. This is XL 10 Minute Leaders Live. My name is Graham Brown, joined today from Canada all the way to Singapore. So I'm in Singapore, he's in Canada. Chris Fudge, welcome to the show.
It's nice to be here, Graham. Yes, up in Canada, a little farther from you. A little colder, but it's not a bad spot to be.
Which part of Canada are you in?
Ontario.
Ontario. Well, I think you say it's a little bit colder, but it wasn't cold recently, was it? It was having some freak heat wave weather.
Man, we have 20 to 30 days a year where it's warm.
Right.
Like we got some days where it's freezing, and then like summer times we get super hot humidity, and then it just drops back down. So we're in a
Yeah.
warm spell right now, so it's a good spot to be right now. Hence, I have a tan.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad you could join us, Chris. We've got 10 minutes together. Are you ready for this?
Let's rock.
All right, so let's do this then. Let's start with the formalities. Chris, what does it say on your business card?
Business cards were very popular when I started in what I do. They're a bit obsolete today. Everything is so much more virtual, but I still carry a business card. My business card says I'm a CSCS, Certified Strength Conditioning Specialist.
Hmm.
Essentially, what that means is I help people get healthy. I help people get fit. I help people reverse disease. And I do that in a leadership role.
What's the strength conditioning part of it?
Well, I originally started out as a strength conditioning coach, so I worked with exclusive athletes. So I was a strength conditioning coach at universities, working with different teams. So my primary clientele was a wrestler, a volleyball player, a hockey player. The objective was to get their bodies bulletproof so they wouldn't get injured during the season. That
Hmm.
was my original business card. I've changed a lot of what I do since, but that is the foundation of what I do is I make people bulletproof. So now I work with everyday people and I try to do the exact same thing, make them bulletproof so that they can be preventative when it comes to disease, when they can be in their retirement years and still be able to pick up their grandkids, when they go on vacation, when they go down south, they can do all the stuff they want to do. There's no limitations. And essentially allow people to live as long as possible. That's now my purpose. That's now my thing, longevity.
What's the core of that? Is it multiple factors or is there a single factor driving all of this?
The single factor of driving it would be me as an individual, where that is something I've always strived for people
Hmm.
close to me, my
Hmm.
family. Always wanted my parents, my relatives to live the best life they possibly can because they started aging at a very early age.
Hmm.
Both my parents had cancer. Both my parents fought it. They're still with us today. But my father was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, terminal, 1 year.
Hmm.
Somehow he's on year 6. They said 1 in a million, he's made it. So at an earlier age of my life, I saw my parents' life just about getting taken away from them.
Hmm.
And I said, I think I can help so many more people live longer. Small thing. If the average person is, not overweight, not morbidly obese, they're probably going to extend their life by 1 or 2 decades. If somebody learns how to eat food that nourishes their body instead of harming their body, they're probably going to live 1 or 2 decades.
Hmm.
If I work with someone who's got addictions to chemicals such as cigarettes, alcohol, recreational drugs that break down their body, and I can show them that exercise and healthy living can allow them to have a good life without using that stuff, I might extend their life by 10 or 20 years. So to me, it's been a very powerful thing. So it's been very personal. And I've been able to do that for over 15 years now with the people that I work with. And it's something I'm very proud of. And it's my purpose to be on this planet.
When you talk to most people, I'm sure most people, and it's important that I'm using this caveat, most people say that they work out, they do some form of exercise, and they try to look after what they eat. What's the problem? Are people unaware of what the right things are, or are they doing it wrong, or are people just lying?
A little bit of A, B, and C. But I would say the biggest issue, the biggest thing to address would be the amount of information that's out there. There is so much access to information. On some level, almost all of it is right. What I need to do is I need to cipher through what's right, what's more right, and what's ideal for that individual. So let me give you an example. Intermittent fasting or eating
Mm.
for a short duration of the day is beneficial for so many reasons. Let's say I work with someone who is an ectomorph, so they're very frail, they're very small, they don't have a lot of body fat, they don't have a lot of muscle mass on them. And they heard that intermittent fasting or eating only 8 hours out of a day is good for their health. And I say, you know what, it is, but for you, you need to actually put on a little bit more muscle mass so you can be stronger. Everyday activities become a lot easier for you. Your immune system will be stronger as well. So you don't need to eat within an 8 hour window. You're going to do better if you eat within a 16-hour window. So for that person, it changes versus
Mm.
someone else who might be 50 pounds overweight and they eat at 6 a.m. and they have their last bite at midnight. So they now have this large window where they're eating all day long. They would benefit a lot more from shortening that window down to 12 hours, 10 hours, or maybe even 8 hours, and they would see their body fat and body weight reduce dramatically and get healthier. So I cipher through the information and make sure it's applicable for the person who's in front of me.
Mm. This is the hard part, isn't it, Chris? The information, you mentioned it. There's a lot of information out there, often conflicting, and it seems very convincing as well. You've talked about dieting or diet rather than dieting. For example, years ago, many athletes turned to what they would call a paleo diet, and now people are talking about plant-based diets, and they seem to be conflicting worldviews, and it seems they're both very convincing as well. That must be quite disempowering for people, that they don't know what's right to do because they both seem right and they have all the medical evidence to back them up from the supporters of both sides. How do you deal with something like that? Because it must be the same with training as well. There must be similar kind of conflicting viewpoints on how you approach training and conditioning.
Terminology I learned from a good friend of mine was truth through experience. Truth through experience means you have to do it and see what happens. You got to test it. You got to trial it. If there is a fad out there, I've probably tried it. So I go out of my way to be a leader in that scenario. The three best ways to be a leader is by example, by example, and by example. So I'll try a fad diet and I'll be able to speak on it. I'll educate myself on reading and be able to speak on it. I would then talk to someone who's gone through it and be able to speak on it. And then I can say, based on this, I would suggest this for you. And then we do trial and error. They try it. If they get amazing results, guess what? It's for them. If it doesn't work out, we change. We try something else. What's the worst case scenario of trying something? It doesn't work.
Mm.
That's not what I say. The worst case scenario is it doesn't work and you don't know what to do. The best case scenario is it doesn't work, but now you know what to do. You're going to try the other thing.
Yeah, it's great advice. Learn through experience. Mm-hmm. And talking of which, tomorrow for you, Chris, is World Youth Skills Day, according to the United Nations. And I thought it was interesting to bring this in today as somebody who's a leader and an educator. If you had a minute with the world's youth listening to you on stage, what would you teach them about what they need to know for the next, I would normally say 60 years, but for these guys, it could be 100 years of the life that they're going to live?
I'm very passionate about this. I'm very passionate about children and about their health. And one thing that has gone in the wrong direction over the last 2 decades, and I'm a father of kids, I see this. What's being told to our children and to today's youth is they need to eat all the time. That's not true. They don't need a snack before school, a snack mid-morning, a snack in the afternoon, a snack when they get home. They don't need all that stuff. Children need to eat about 3 meals a day, like you and I did when we were young, like our parents did, and they will be healthy. Today's youth is overeating, and it's not their fault. It's the parent's fault. A parent can tell a child no. A child cannot tell a parent, I don't want to. So if I were to give any message, I would educate them that you don't need to eat as much as you do, and you'll be much healthier if you try to eat maybe 3 times a day.
How do we educate the parents then? It seems like they are the ones that need it.
Sometimes I would have conversations with them in front of their children, and sometimes I would have conversations with them without their children. And I have to go into my parenting mode with them and say, truth through experience, when my children say they don't want to eat that, and I say it's that or nothing, they might not choose to eat on that day. They might not choose to eat it the second time, but the third time when I say there's nothing else for you to eat, they eat it. It works. Remember, we're the adults. We're the parents. It's really easy to say yes to your kids. It's really hard to say no. If you want to be a good parent or want to be a great parent, practice saying no to your children. And that goes with discipline, it goes with nutrition, it goes with education. It's hard to do, but if your children's health is something that you prioritize, you can do it.
Great advice. Chris Fudge, everybody, where do we find out more about you?
I have a podcast called Project Fitness Podcast, and I address different issues like what we just talked about now, longevity, nutrition, kids nutrition. You can find that at projectfitness.com, that website, or just on any major podcast, Spotify, Apple, that's Project Fitness, and you'll see this face here. And I try to bring on some of the world's leading experts in different aspects of health, nutrition, exercise science, and let them do their thing, and I get to ask them questions.
There's a lot of good content. You're over 50 episodes in now as well, right?
Yeah, we just had our 52nd episode today, and today's episode was 5 uniquely successful exercises, equipment that you should be using that aren't normal. So an example one would be a TRX suspension-based training system. They're in all the gyms. Most people don't know what they do. So I gave a quick little spiel on how they work and why you should be using them.
I don't even know what that is.
It's that yellow strap that hangs from something.
Ah, okay. Go and check out the podcast. That's the answer to that question.
That's right.
Okay, one more time, the link to the podcast.
www.projectfitness.com.
Chris, thank you so much for joining us on the show today.